The waste basically comes from two sources. One is overconsumption, we use too much of that. The other one is from the inefficiency, that means you're using more for the same amount that we get. There are many environmental damages: air, water pollution, the land. Each of these have been formulated. You can read the book and it gives you the different aspects of the environmental damage. And one institution is the Copenhagen Institute of the Future Studies. I put the numbers here, which showed that these are the challenges that they believe is important, for this century. Technology can affect all aspects of our life. It can affect the manufacturing by having some better technologies like made in time, just in time, or just to order. Rapid prototyping is causes that we be able to make more products with less waste and less energy. So these are all positive aspects of the manufacturing. But also manufacturing causes the technology that we substitute the material faster. You buy an iPhone, and 2 years later the iPhone is not used anymore, so we have to discard it and we buy a new gadget, which has a better performance, but at the cost of destroying the environment. Technology again is another area that in the future would undergo a big transformation. We talk about the efficient vehicles, the low-cost public transportation is very important, hybrid and electric. These are all improving the transportation, but at the same time, it will allow us to travel more, and that would be a cost of the improved transportation system. Agriculture, there's a lot of technology development in the field of the genetic engineering in making the genetically modified organisms that can produce more. The materials do not degrade or destroy, but at the same time there are a lot of talks about how these genetic seeds have been patented. They're not being available to all the people at the low cost. So many farmers can go bankrupt because they cannot afford to pay for the genetically engineering food. Also, they are concerned about the safety, food safety, but that's one of the areas that can be definitely undergoes major transformations in the future. Energy, we talked more about it, and so we know that energy technologies are also improving quite rapidly. There are different technologies for having carbon dioxide abatement, and this includes decarbonization, means using the fuel which lower carbon in it. For example, switching from fossil fuel to the solar and wind. Energy efficiency and conservation can cause us, to have less energy consumption. And then if the release, before the release to the atmosphere, we can capture the carbon, either store it someplace, or if it's already in the ambient, then we can absorb it and then store it someplace. There are a lot of energy efficient appliances. Lighting is one prime example of that. We moved from incandescent to CFL and fluorescent, light bulb, and from there you went, to the halogen and to LED. Each of them are more efficient than the previous generation, and so we are saving a lot of energy by using more efficient lights. Environmental technologies are being transformed as well. The old way is that when to reduce the pollution, we were making a taller stack, so we would release the pollution at a higher elevation, and the idea was that it would be diluted, with other air, and so the concentration would drop. But no matter what you do, the toxins would stay there, might not be close to our house, but could be settling a few hundred miles down the road. The new ways is that to produce less pollutant to start with. That goes with a higher efficiency, better combustion, less use the natural resources, and also use the products and measure their impact over the entire life cycle, not only during the time that we're using it. Here, I would like to talk the differences between conservation and energy. By conservation, I mean is that to use less energy, to cutting down on the use. If you are in the room and you walk out of the room and you turn off the light, that's conservation. Conservation always is associated with some form of sacrifice. For example, you take a shower instead of twice a day, you take one times a shower. That is conservation, but also requires some form of sacrifice. Conservation might mean to eat a little bit more food, so there's a sacrifice as far as our food consumption goes. Efficiency, on the other hand, requires no sacrifice. It's only done by using the better equipment, for example, going from one form of light source to another form of light source, switching our light, from the incandescent to the LED. It provides the same amount of lighting, but at the lower energy consumption, so that is the efficiency. These are some of the examples of the conservation. Turn the thermostat down, seal the cracks, check, for change the filters, use a little bit lower temperature water or cold water during the rinsing of the clothing. Use most of the chores during the off-peak hour. And then if the appliances are not in use, then unplug them. You might not be surprised to know that even our TV and the toaster, when they are not plugged in, they're using still some powers. So unplug them if you don't use them. The examples of the efficiency would be, as I said, changing the light bulb, going from the old appliances to the energy-saving appliances, use a dual flush toilet, use a hybrid car. These are all examples of the efficiency. This diagram, this is basically an issue with the genetically modified food being published by the Greenpeace, and basically it implies that even the corn, there might be a hand grenade hidden in the seeds, because we don't know what these materials are, but we genetically modify them, and something terrible can eventually happen by just doing this manipulation at the genetic level. So I will close, this book, this chapter, by talking about, certain things, that you can do on a personal level. Okay, and the most important thing is to simplify your life and find a hobby and be less stressed, educate yourself, do the stuff that you can do in the community and national level. And these are my 4 L's. And thank you for attending.